I remember the exact moment I realized I'd finally made it. I was standing in the middle of my new condo, two-bedroom, fifth floor, solid brick building off Lake Street in Chicago. The place smelled like fresh paint and Windex, and for once, the silence wasn't depressing. It was mine. No roommates, no random thuds through paper-thin walls. Just me, my tools, and my 49-year-old back finally stretched out on a couch I didn't have to share. My name's Tom. I'm 58 now, but back then, that place was my reward. Took over 20 years of blue-collar grinding to get there. I ran ductwork through rat-infested basements, worked HVAC in 90-degree attics, took side gigs fixing restaurant fridges just to scrape together the down payment. Every tile, every screw, every hour of overtime, it built that condo. Quick note: before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I grew up in a working-class part of the South Side. Dad walked out when I was 15, left for some woman in Michigan, and never really looked back. Mom raised me and my younger brother Derek. He was the golden boy, the one who just needed a little help every time he screwed up. Me? I was the one who had to figure out life with duct tape and a wrench. Derek used to swipe my stuff constantly, my Walkman, birthday money. One time he even stole my truck keys to impress a girl. Mom always brushed it off. "He looks up to you," she'd say. Or, "You're the big brother." Be patient translation, suck it up. Family first, even if it meant getting stepped on. While I was scraping through trade school and paying for used tires 2 months in advance, Mom was co-signing loans for Derek and covering his DUI lawyer. I was saving every dime. He was burning through every chance. So, when I finally got that condo, it felt like cutting the cord for good. I painted the walls myself, mounted the flat screen, turned the second bedroom into a home gym. It wasn't flashy, but it was earned. It was proof I didn't need anyone to bail me out. About a year before the mess started, I made a pivot, got into retirement planning. More stable hours, better upside long term. But the money drop hit hard in the short term. So, I made the call, rent the condo for a year, live with my buddy Russ in Oak Park, and give the career shift time to click. What could go wrong, right? I just stood there, frozen, like an idiot. Nick and Olivia hovered behind me, polite but quiet, probably wondering what kind of circus I was running. Derek was already half settled. Rachel perched on the arm of the couch like she lived there, sipping coffee from one of my mugs. A box labeled Books Rachel was shoved right up against the TV stand I built myself. "Mom said we could stay here," Derek said again, like that made it law. I blinked at him. "What do you mean, stay here? Our lease ended last week. We needed something fast. She said you weren't using it." He grinned, like this was all just working out perfectly. Rachel had the nerve to nod along, like I'd invited them personally. Nick cleared his throat behind me. Should we come back later?" I snapped out of it. No, stay." I stepped inside, holding the door open. "You're moving in today." Derek stood. "Wait, what? You didn't tell Mom?" "I didn't tell anyone because it's my place. And it's rented." To them, I pointed toward Nick and Olivia, who were now awkwardly hanging near the door, still holding a box of donuts and a folder of paperwork. Derek's face dropped for a second, then shifted to that smug confusion he always pulled when he got caught but didn't want to admit it. "Well, Mom said it'd be fine." I pulled out my phone right there and called her. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey, honey." I didn't waste time. "Why are Derek and Rachel in my condo?" She paused. "They said they needed a place. You're staying with Russ, right?" I figured it was sitting empty. "It's not," I said. "I have tenants. Lease signed. They're here now." Another pause. "Oh, I didn't realize you'd already found someone. You didn't ask." She sighed, like I was the one being difficult. "Well, they don't have anywhere else to go. It's just temporary. You've always been the flexible one." That line hit like a punch. I ended the call and turned back to the room. Nick and Olivia were standing there, trying not to look annoyed. Olivia smiled politely. "We can give you a few minutes." I nodded. "Yeah, just 10. I'm really sorry." They stepped out and I shut the door behind them. Then I turned to Derek. You broke into my condo. We didn't break in. Mom had a key which she wasn't supposed to give you. I looked over at Rachel, who suddenly got real interested in her coffee. You weren't using the place, he said again, like repeating it would make it true. I don't care. It's not yours. You don't get to just move in, Rachel spoke up, quiet. We really didn't mean to cause trouble. We just needed a place between leases. That's all. And you thought just, what? Claim it like a hotel room before check-in? It's not that serious, man, Derek said. It's exactly that serious. I've got a signed lease, a deposit. I can get sued if they walk, they won't, he said, waving it off. We'll be out in a few weeks. Maybe even sooner. They can come after. No, they can't. The move-in date is today. Rachel stood now, too. We'll clean up, okay? We haven't unpacked much. I'm not negotiating. You need to leave. Now he scoffed. What, you gonna call the cops on your own brother? If it comes to that, yeah. His smile finally faded. You've always been such a hardliner. You know that? So rigid. Like you're better than the rest of us because you paid for your own tires. I didn't answer. I walked to the door, opened it, and called Nick and Olivia back in. They walked in cautiously, Olivia giving a nervous little wave. Come do the walk-through, I said. This is your place now. Rachel looked like she wanted to disappear. Derek just stared at me, like he couldn't believe I'd flipped the script, like it never occurred to him that I might say no. They didn't leave yet, but I could feel the shift, like the clock had started ticking. Derek didn't even blink. They can move in next week. We'll be gone by then. No, I said. They're moving in today. This isn't a waiting room. It's rented. You need to leave. Rachel stepped forward, voice all soft and shaky. Thanks for letting us stay. Really, I stared at her. I didn't. She flinched a little, eyes darting to Derek. He just shrugged like I was the one overreacting. I turned to Nick and Olivia, still hanging by the door, their smiles officially gone. Nick gave a slow nod. We'll wait downstairs. I handed them the donuts. Sorry you walked into this. They left, and I closed the door. My voice dropped. You never called, never asked. You had no idea what was going on with this place. Why would I? Mom already cleared it. You don't get to squat in someone's home just because Mom cleared it. You're not 12. You don't get hand-me-downs anymore. He leaned back on the couch like he was still king of the hill. You didn't think for 1 second that maybe I had plans? That maybe, just maybe, I wasn't waiting around to clean up your mess again? He didn't answer, just looked at the TV like the conversation bored him. There it was, her default setting. I looked at Derek and it finally clicked. He wasn't going anywhere unless I made him. You're done here, I said. Pack your stuff. You're not staying. Rachel froze. Wait, what? Seriously? Derek stood, full of fake outrage. You're kicking us out? You can't be serious. I'm not asking. Rachel's eyes watered. She sat down hard on a box near the door, burying her face in her hands. This is so embarrassing. Derek ignored her. You'd rather hand the place over to strangers than help your own brother? I am helping you. By not calling the cops, he crossed his arms. So that's it? You're gonna throw us out with no warning? You broke in. You're lucky I haven't changed the locks already. Rachel looked up. Can we just have the weekend? We'll be out by Monday. No? You used to care about us, she said, like she was shocked. I still do. But this isn't caring. This is getting steamrolled. Derek started pacing. Unbelievable. You get one nice condo and suddenly you're better than everybody. I earned this. You showed up like you were entitled to it. We had nowhere to go. You had time. You just didn't plan. That's not my fault. Rachel sniffled and stood. I'll start packing. But Derek didn't budge. He dropped back onto the couch like it was his throne. I'm not going anywhere until Mom says so. She's not the landlord. I am. He grinned, cocky. We'll see. It wasn't just disrespect, it was expectation. Like no matter what, I'd fold. Like I always did. Not this time. I walked to the bedroom, shut the door behind me, and locked it. I wasn't calling Mom again. I was calling someone who'd actually back me up. I closed the door, locked it behind me, and sat on the edge of the bed. My hands were shaking, not from fear, just sheer adrenaline. I scrolled to Mike's number and hit call. "Yo," he answered. "Everything good?" "No. Derek and Rachel broke into my condo. I've got tenants ready to move in, and these two are drinking coffee in their socks." Mike didn't even hesitate. "You own it, right? Paid off. Title's clean. Then they're trespassing. You told them to leave?" "I did." He smirked and said he'd wait for Mom to give the okay. Mike snorted. "Then call the cops." "Seriously? They've got no legal right to be there." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "All right, I'll handle it. Text me if you need backup. I'll send you a copy of the lease template, too, in case building management asks." I hung up and dialed the front desk. Linda answered on the second ring. "This is Linda." "Hey, it's Tom from Unit 504. I've got a problem. Some unapproved people are inside my unit. They weren't invited. I have a lease starting today. Are they family?" "My brother and his fiancée." She let out a slow sigh. "All right, I'll come up with security." When I came out of the bedroom, Derek was pacing with his phone pressed to his ear. "I'm telling you, Mom, he's acting like we broke in with crowbars. We just needed a couple days, and now he's flipping out." He stopped and turned, making sure I could hear him. "He's being unreasonable." I didn't say a word. I stepped out and took the elevator down to find Nick and Olivia waiting in the lobby. "Hey," I said, walking up. "Sorry again. You're still moving in today." Nick looked unsure. "You sure?" "I'm sure." "Do the walkthrough. I'll deal with them." They followed me up. Rachel was near the door now, arms crossed, blocking the entry like she was guarding Buckingham Palace. "They can't move in." "We're here," she said. I didn't even look at her. "Move." She hesitated, then stepped aside. Nick and Olivia walked in, Olivia clutching the lease paperwork like it was a shield. "They can't just—" Rachel started again. I cut her off. "You're not tenants." "They are. Knock at the door." I opened it. Linda stood there in a gray cardigan and black slacks, calm but sharp-eyed. Behind her was Terry, one of the building's security guys, tall, stocky, and already sizing up Derek like he knew the type. Derek stepped forward fast. "Hi, I'm Tom's brother." "Look, this is all a misunderstanding." Linda raised a hand. "Are you listed on the unit's lease agreement?" "No, but—" "Then you're not authorized to be here." "But he's my brother." "Family or not," Linda said, firm, "without the owner's consent, this is unauthorized occupancy. You'll need to vacate." Derek looked stunned. "You're siding with him?" Terry spoke up. "We don't take sides. We follow policy. You can leave on your own, or we can notify CPD." Rachel finally looked up from the couch. "Can we just talk about this for a second?" "No," I said. "This is the talk. You don't live here." You never did. Nick and Olivia kept their heads down, walking room to room, while I stayed near the door with Linda and security. Rachel started gathering her purse and phone, but Derek didn't move. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. Linda looked at him flat. "You've got 10 minutes. I pointed straight at the door. "Get out." "Both of you?" Derek didn't flinch. "We're not leaving." Rachel shifted her weight, arms crossed tight over her chest. Her eyes were locked on the floor like she didn't want to be seen. Terry stepped forward. "This is your second warning. If you don't leave voluntarily, we'll involve law enforcement." Derek looked him dead in the eye. "Call whoever you want." Before I could say a word, the front door swung open without a knock. Mom walked in like she was entering Sunday brunch, not a legal dispute. She even had her purse slung neatly over one shoulder and a Tupperware in hand, like this was some kind of peace offering. "Let's just all calm down," she said, her voice overly sweet. "There's no need for this tension." I stepped between her and the living room. "Mom, stop. You don't own this place. You had no right telling them they could stay here. She set the Tupperware on the kitchen counter like that would soften me up. I didn't think it'd be such a big deal. It is a big deal. You threw me under the bus without even asking. Her eyebrows pulled together. I didn't even blink. I'm choosing legal contracts over moochers, Derek exploded. Freeloaders! You think I'm a freeloader? I just needed a little help. You always just need a little help. 1 week turns into 6 months. One favor turns into a disaster. I'm not doing this again. Mom stepped closer. He's your brother. And this is my home. That I worked my tail off for Rachel still hadn't moved. She was standing in the corner like she wanted the wall to eat her. At least she had the decency to look ashamed. Derek paced now, his voice rising. We're family. You don't turn your back on family. You already did when you broke in. Terry raised his radio. You want me to call it in? Derek barked at me. You going to call the cops on your own brother? I stared him down. If I have to. This ends now. The room went dead silent for a second, just the low hum of the fridge and the creak of a box being shifted behind me. Mom looked between us like she was finally realizing this wasn't going her way. We can talk about this. Sit down. Work it out. No, I said. I'm done talking. They leave or they get removed. Rachel finally moved. She walked to the corner, grabbed a half-packed box, and held it out toward Derek. Come on. He didn't budge. Derek, she said again, firmer this time. Let's go. He looked at her like she'd just betrayed him, then at Mom, waiting for her to step in. When she stayed silent, the fight drained out of him. Security hadn't even moved, but the pressure in the room was crushing. Derek finally snatched the box from Rachel's hands and stormed to the door. He stopped before crossing the threshold. You're not better than me, Tom. You're just cold? I didn't answer. Rachel followed close behind, carrying a tote bag and avoiding eye contact. She paused at the door for a second, then kept moving. They walked out. Didn't say goodbye, didn't look back. Terry gave me a small nod. If they come back, let the desk know. Linda glanced around. Tenants still good? I turned to see Nick and Olivia in the hallway, holding keys and watching like they just sat through a courtroom drama. They're good, I said. Once they were gone, I took out my phone, found a decent hotel in the area, and booked them a 3-night stay. Charged it to my own card. Didn't have to, but it felt cleaner than letting them crash with Mom and spin it like I threw them to the street. I texted Derek the reservation details. No reply. Nick and Olivia moved in later that afternoon. I helped them carry in a couple boxes, made sure the thermostat worked, handed over the spare fob. Olivia smiled, way more than I deserved after the mess. Around 8, they sent a text. Thanks again. We loved the place. The next morning, my phone lit up. Mom. I debated letting it ring, picked up anyway. She opened soft. I didn't realize how serious you were. That was it. No apology. Just her usual passive regret. The kind where she thinks saying something counts as taking responsibility. I didn't argue, just said, yeah, and let the silence hang. We didn't talk long. A week later, I was eating lunch in my truck between appointments when an email from Derek popped up. Subject, wedding message, Rachel and I are postponing. We need to work some things out. Thought you should know. I read it twice. Didn't respond. Not my circus. By the end of the month, Mom asked if I wanted to grab lunch. I agreed, mostly out of curiosity. We met at a diner on the edge of Berwyn. Quiet place, cheap coffee. We sat in a corner booth. She didn't dress up or pretend it was just a normal catch-up. That, honestly, was a surprise. She stirred her coffee for a while before speaking. I've treated you like you'd always be fine on your own. That wasn't fair. I didn't jump in. I let her sit in it. She kept her eyes down. I leaned on you because you never complained. But that doesn't mean you didn't deserve boundaries. It wasn't a full apology, but it was close. Closer than I'd ever gotten from her. I nodded. I'm not your fallback plan anymore. That got her attention. She looked up. No tears, no dramatics, just a quiet, I get it now. We didn't hug it out. We finished lunch, talked a little about my new job. She asked how Russ was doing. Then she paid the bill and told me to keep in touch. I left feeling lighter, not happy, not angry, just done carrying a weight I didn't choose. A few weeks later, I swung by the condo just to check in, brought a 6-pack of LaCroix and a new set of LED bulbs I'd been meaning to drop off. Nick answered the door with a grin. "Hey, man." "Place is still standing," he joked. It looked better than I expected. They'd added a little plant shelf by the window, succulents, some pothos vines, art on the wall, a woven rug in the entryway. It didn't just look clean, it looked lived in. Olivia waved from the kitchen. "Want coffee?" "Sure," I said, stepping inside. "Smells better than when I lived here." They laughed. Nick handed me a mug and we sat at the bar. We talked about the neighborhood, where to get the best breakfast sandwich, which corner store sold the coldest drinks. I pointed out which windows rattled when it got windy. They told me they had already made friends with the neighbors in 503. Nick leaned back after a while and said, "We appreciated how you handled everything, by the way. That kind of clarity is rare. I didn't know how to respond to that. Just gave a small nod and took a sip. When I left, the sun was going down, and the air had that late summer bite to it. On the train ride back, I sat by the window, watching the city slide past in blur and steel. I thought about all the years I'd been the one who could handle it. The fixer, the fallback guy, the one Mom leaned on, the one Derek took from. Not anymore. That day wasn't just about evicting family. It was about drawing a line, not in sand where it gets washed away, but in cement. In my name. Mom calls more now. She still slips into the old tones sometimes, the guilt, the assumptions, but she catches herself. She's trying. We're figuring it out. Derek's been quiet, real quiet. I haven't heard from him since the wedding got postponed. Haven't seen Rachel either. I'm not mad. I'm just done. That part of the job's over. Russ keeps telling me I should write a manual, how to evict your family in 3 easy steps. I told him, step 1 is grow a spine. The truth. I don't regret any of it. Not the awkwardness, not the yelling, not even the guilt. Because the second you stop letting people walk all over you, that's the moment you start standing tall.